Hey everybody, it's Kate Richburg from beadshop.com with your free tip Friday. Yay, it's Friday. It's almost your weekend. You've made it. Hopefully you're going to get some creative time this weekend to do some fun stuff. I wanted to share with you, I think, a great tip that I think is going to be a game changer for you. If you watched our Facebook Live broadcast this past week from February 8th, you'll remember that we did a bunch of hammering with our bench block and hammer, and we made some hammered components. It was super fun, but I'm going to take that one step further and teach you how to make an essential for your jewelry making needs. It's the jump ring, and it's so easy to make, you guys, and really it's going to change your jewelry making life, I hope. One of the things we've been checking out here at beadshop.com, the other day we were talking about just some of the jewelry and stuff that we loved, and Grace, who you guys know is behind the camera and is our trusty graphic designer, and also Cara from our shipping and fulfillment department, we were talking about some of our favorite jewelry, and charm bracelets came up on the docket. And we talked about, how coincidentally we all had charm bracelets. We all had charm bracelets that we love. And I have been collecting charms on my charm bracelets since I was a little girl. This represents just 3 of the many that I have. And my mom was responsible for starting this passion for me. And this is actually one of my charm bracelets that I had as a little girl. And so jump rings are super essential with charm bracelets. And so I want you to mark your calendars now. For next week, we have a great newsletter that's coming out on Thursday that's going to talk all about jump rings and charms and all that kind of good stuff. So this is kind of a little hand-in-hand technique that's going to go with that. So let's get over to the demo side of things, shall we, Grace?
Sounds good.
And get the show on the road. So you guys will remember from this past Wednesday, and just a quick note, you guys, if you didn't see our broadcast, you can find our broadcast archived in a few places on our beadshop.com website. If you just click on the front page on the Facebook Live button, you'll go to a page that has all of our broadcasts archived. You can find them on our YouTube channel for beadshop.com, and of course right here on our Facebook Live page under the Videos tab. So let's jump in and talk real quick. You guys remember this really essential tool from the broadcast on Wednesday is this pen, and I used it to make some cool ear wires. This is my ear wire jig. But what I also use this for is it's also the perfect diameter for jump rings. So I'm going to cut a piece of wire, and I'm going to use the wire cutter I'm using is our Xuron Max shear flush cutter. And this guy really gives you a nice, clean, flush cut on the end of your wire, which is super essential, especially when you're making jump rings. So watch what I do. I've just cut, I don't know, this is maybe about 6 inches worth of wire. And I know what you're thinking, Kate, what gauge is it? It's 18 gauge, okay? And this is our craft wire. This is a coppery color because I'm going to make a jump ring to go on our Mr. Bumblebee charm. So all I do is I hold my pen. It couldn't be easier, you guys. I've got my pen, I've got my wire, and look at what I'm doing. Oh my goodness, I'm just winding the wire around the pen. Couldn't be easier. I'm going to turn it around because I was hanging on to this little piece of wire under my hand to stabilize everything. And I'm just going to wrap that one down. Look at that. And you guys, if you don't have a pen, use a knitting needle. You can use, I don't know, a skinnier pen, a bigger pen to make big jump rings. Sometimes my students use Sharpie markers. Whatever works for you, whatever diameter works for you. But this is the kicker, you guys. I'm going to get this really up close and personal so you can see it. Now, a jump ring, in order for it to stay closed, needs to have a flush join like this, right? There needs to be no little space. So that's where a good wire cutter comes in handy. Can you see how super flush that edge of the cutter is? Well, watch what I do. I hold that coil that I just made with the pen, and I come in and I cut a nice, I know it's a little hard for you guys to see, I want to get there as close as I can, a nice straight across cut. Can we see how that's a really good flush cut? Now, in order to make that flush cut on the other side of my jump ring, I'm going to flip this cutter over, okay? And I'm going to cut just beyond where I cut before. See, there's that end of that wire. I'm going up onto the next coil and cutting. And if I turn this to the side, can you see what a nice straight across cut I have? I'm going to do that one more time. Because where I cut the wire off, there's a little pinch. So I need to flip my cutter and clip. Being careful not to let that little piece of wire fly up and hit me in the face. So I'm going to flip and clip, flip and clip. So I've got a series of jump rings that are made. Okay, and you just keep going down, flipping and clipping. Flip your tool every time you make a clip in that coil. And what you'll get is a jump ring that has a nice flush end. Now, those of you who've been watching these tips and watching our Facebook Live know that I love this handy dandy. It's just a little nail file. So I can come in, and if there's the tiniest little burr, I can just come in, file that end flush, file that end flush, and now when I close this up, I'm going to use my chain nose and my bent chain nose to really close this up. Watch how I get that right in there, moving back and forth, and I'll close that, making sure it's nice and flush and closed. Now I'm going to add this ring. And I purposefully made this ring a little bit bigger, you guys, so you can see it. You can use a smaller dowel or a wood dowel or, like I said, a knitting needle to get the dowel, or to get rather the jump ring size exactly the size that you want. Again, this is an 18 gauge wire, okay? But even that large jump ring, I'll just slide this one on just real quick so you could see, something like this, you could then go ahead and attach to an ear wire if you wanted as well, right, in lieu of chain, just like that, okay? Those of you also remember from our broadcast, these were like those little earring components that I made that I love making. You can do the same thing making a jump ring just by using your round nose plier. I'm going to cut off a section there, and I'm going to use kind of the big or fattest portion of my round nose. See how I'm just opening? I'm doing this so quickly because it's, you know, kind of second nature for me to make these jump rings. But I open the tool, close it, rotate it around, open the tool, rotate it back up, close it, rotate it around. So my wire is just conforming right around the head of my tool. Now I'm going to drop it off.
16 gauge, right?
It's 16 gauge, exactly. 16 gauge wire. A little bit thicker than that 18 gauge was. Now I have a nice coil. And you guys, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to flip and clip. So let's do it. I'm going to, I've got this side here, and can you see it's the flush side of my cutter? If the rings are a little close, that's okay. You can open it up just slightly to get a little room for your cutter in there. And I clip that away. Now I'm going to flip my cutter over so the flush side or the flat side of the cutter is next to my ring, and there we have it. I've cut that little ring away. And it's even more evident when you get a heavier gauge wire, how nice and flush that ring is. Now, if I wanted to make these little earring components into a little chain or link them together, I could do that pretty easily. First, you know, I actually like to close this ring to make sure it's all closed and nice. And then I'll come in, open it up, slide on the components, close that sucker up. Okay? And I'm just starting to make a little chain component with those rings. You can also, if you want, this is another little connector, and it's my last little tip that I'm going to share with you. This little figure 8 connector is a connector I use a lot. Sometimes I use it instead of a jump ring. Really easy to make. I've cut, again, that 16 gauge wire, clipping it flush at the end with my wire cutter, giving it a little file if I want to, right there. And again, this is the 16 gauge craft wire, and I'm just going to pick a spot, whatever size I'm looping it around on my round nose plier. That's the size the loop is going to be. And then I'm going to take a guess that I'm going to need about 1/4 of an inch to make the other side of my loop. So I'll come in, cut it flush, give it a little file if I like. Now I'm going to loop this back up and over the opposite direction. And sometimes my loops don't always match the size. You know, they're not the same size from top to bottom, but I'm okay with that too. I think it adds a little bit of design. There we go. So you can see this one is a little bit bigger. That one's a little bit smaller. And then what I do, if I want to work harden this or flatten this out, we get our bench block and our chasing hammer, and I'll come in, get that into position, and just give it a little tap on each loop, or you can put the whole thing on your bench block. Light little jewelry making taps, you guys. No need to get too heavy-handed with that. And then you can see, if I open up this loop, I can connect it to that component and close it up. So you can attach with a jump ring or that little figure 8 component. Super easy, you guys, and a real game changer. Being able to make your own jump rings, I think, really opens up a whole world of possibilities for your jewelry design. All right, so I hope you guys found that helpful. Let me come back up here so I can sign off. So that was your free tip from me, Kate Richbird, for Free Tip Friday from beadshop.com. Any questions or anything, Grace? Or are we good to go?
Thank you to everyone who's sharing our video.
Yeah, we really, really appreciate that. You can find all these Free Tip Fridays on our Facebook page if you just go under our video tab and search for Free Tip Friday. Also, I wanted to mention, you guys, that our weekend newsletters are coming up. We've got some great things in every newsletter that's going out this weekend. So make sure that if you haven't signed up, you can go to our beadshop.com homepage and sign up, and then open those guys up for some great savings and offers this weekend. And I also wanted to mention, if you did want to grab some wire, the entire wire category right now is 20% off. You're watching this on Friday. What's the date today, Grace? Friday. I knew the date, 10th. Right? So, it's on sale this Friday and beyond through next week. But we just wanted to make sure that if you watch this a little bit later, our wire sale might not be on. But that's it for me for Free Tip Friday. We'll see you on Wednesday for our Facebook Live broadcast, our big one. It's our first beat along, and we're super excited to start that stitching project with you guys. So thanks so much. Have a great weekend. Stay creative, and we'll see you soon.